Yang Xiaoneng is a curator. He works in that corner of the Forbidden City in Beijing where the Son of Heaven's treasures are keeping. Although a brilliant intellect and well-educated, Yang lives at no higher standard than his peers. He rides his bicycle to work every day and braves the hundreds of thousands of vehicles that make for this unique rush hour, where cars and buses have the right-of-way over bicycles and pedestrians have virtually no rights at all. Yang's route takes him past the main square in the center of Beijing called Tiananmen, translated Gate of Heavenly Peace. This is the gathering place for the citizens of Beijing for casual meetings or special events. The centerpiece is the obelisk with Chairman Mao's writing. More than his words, this is a replica of his own calligraphy, his handwriting. In a country where for thousands of years people have revered the arts, even handwriting has been elevated to an art form. Above Tiananmen, Mao beams down at his people, the last picture of him remaining in a place that at one time was filled with statues and slogans of the late ruler. The minimizing of Mao is a sign of the times, of a new China that becomes more Western. Look at the clothes. More Western than ever before. And yet Yang's destination in the Forbidden City, where the Son of Heaven treasures are waiting, is a world so steeped in the culture of the past. Yang enters this world every day, a world of marble bridges and tile roofs, where the animals on the eaves tell a visitor of the significance of the building. 9, the perfect number, signifying the emperor. 7, still important, but less so. And so forth. 5 and 3. What Yang does today is help assemble one of the great artifacts of the Chinese Bronze Age, a collection of 26 bronze bells, being photographed for the Son of Heaven exhibit. This is one of the largest and few complete sets remaining. Complete, yet something is missing. Watching these people at work gives us a tremendous insight into the nature of Chinese teamwork. Each person has an opinion. All feel free to speak. Every action requires a conference. Not good enough. Another conference. More opinions. And then... Finely hung, the graduated bells call to be played. But how? We know that over 2,000 years ago, these bells were used for ceremonial occasions, both solemn and festive. We can guess they were struck by several musicians with mallets, since they lack the clappers that make our modern bells toll. And each bell makes 2 tones, depending on where it's struck. But this sour note reminds us we don't know how the bells were meant to sound. The music notation no longer exists, gone forever. We will never know how the ancient melodies played. But we can marvel at the technology that created these cast bronze bells 26 centuries ago. Created for the pleasure of the emperors for centuries to come.
What I've been telling him is that your angle is something like this, okay? So you get the last bay or less of the building, you get the even.
Robert Thorpe is Yang Xiaoneng's American counterpart.
Well, I hope the insulators are going to be inconspicuous because of the trees.
Well, okay.
He's directing the work of Spokane-based photographer Don Hamilton.
There's even an argument that says we shoot the minute the sun drops just below, and then you'd have just soft light from the sky.
With my back, you expect me to get down here and look at this?
Dr. Thorpe is an expert on Chinese art and culture and fluent in Mandarin Chinese, the language spoken here. Not only did he and Yang choose all the pieces for the Son of Heaven exhibit, they are responsible for explaining them to us through catalog pictures and essays.
It's a pretty sight.
Here they are determining which side of a blue and white vase should face the camera for the catalog picture.
We've got an 8-sided vase, and there are 4 dragons on it. 2 of them have the body extending up behind the head. So the dragon coming down from above, chest sticking out, legs extended, head angling upward.
This porcelain is from the Yuan dynasty, about 600 years old, from the time when the Mongol Khans ruled China and much of the world. Blue and white porcelain is widely admired today, and this vase with its 8 sides and its dragon motif is a prize. It too is in the Son of Heaven exhibit. The dragons are shown ascending and descending, the 2 forms they take in dragon legend. It is said the dragon lives in the sea, and then in the spring at the equinox it rises to its home in the heavens, dripping water as it goes and bringing the rainy season to China. Then, in the fall, it goes back to the sea from the waterless heavens, and thus ushers in the dry season. Over and over again, we see the dragon in Chinese art. But beware, the dragon is the symbol for the emperor, and only he will wear it. This regal robe is lavishly hand-embroidered with the powerful animal of legend. It can be examined up close in the Son of Heaven exhibit. Something else about this garment signifies its rightful owner, the color yellow, the royal color that only the emperor could wear. If another person tried to clothe himself in yellow, he could pay with his life. Why yellow? Yellow is the color Chinese believe symbolizes earth, perhaps in honor of the golden dust that ever blows off the Gobi Desert, tinting the sky and casting mystical light across this land. Outside the Forbidden City warehouse where the Son of Heaven treasures are hidden, a sudden rain shower gives a sultry afternoon relief from the heat and the dust. And the rainbow, a rare sight in Beijing, portends good fortune for us. But this won't be the only special sign we'll see from the heavens.
We'll continue with the Cairo special presentation of Son of Heaven in a
It's September in China, the autumnal equinox, and on this day when Earth and Sun pass as they have every year for eons, the school children of Beijing gather in Tiananmen Square to watch another wonder of the solar system, an eclipse of the sun. With eyes appropriately shaded, they gaze heavenward, not fully understanding what they are viewing. And so it was on the few occasions each year when the emperor ventured out from the city, he passed this very place, and the citizens were required to shield their eyes, close their doors and windows, not permitted to gaze upon the Son of Heaven. The emperor was on his way to the Temple of Heaven. Like the imperial palace where he lived, this too was a forbidden place where the people could not go. His purpose here, in fact his mandate, was to make sacrifices to the heavens. And since the emperor attended to all the affairs of his people, it was only appropriate that he, as the Son of Heaven, would attend to the affairs of the heavens. And this was the place, the holy place, where he communicated with the heavens. Today, tourists swarm this once sacrosanct marble altar. Where the emperor burned sacrifices, they stomp their feet. Not a gesture of contempt. They're trying to hear an echo. One of the architectural idiosyncrasies of this structure. Yes, an echo can be heard, but only when there are fewer people blocking the sound. Walking from the circular altar, we come to another round structure at the Temple of Heaven. This huge pavilion, called the Hall of Prayer for a Bountiful Harvest, is the most recognized building in all of China. In fact, a replica sits at the China Pavilion at Walt Disney's Epcot Center. Now a favorite tourist attraction in Florida and Beijing, its original purpose was as a hall for sacrifice. Curator Robert Thorpe explains.
Well, ritual offerings of meat, grain, alcoholic spirits, prepared in kitchens over there to one side of this compound, cooked up, slaughtered, brought to the site inside the hall, placed on an altar platform. The essence of those offerings, the vapors, literally would ascend to heaven and sustain heaven and show the emperor's commitment to honoring his obligations.
Visitors here who understand Chinese symbolism would know that this building has a lofty purpose. The blue tile roof symbolizes the sky, and the circular shape symbolizes the heavens. It was built with the most advanced principles of mechanics and geometry. Not a single nail was used, and integrated into the structure, a tribute to America's Pacific Northwest. When the building burned down in the late 19th century, it was rebuilt with our timber. Immense wooden pillars to hold up the roof, over 60 feet long. The Chinese used our trees because they grew so tall. It's important to visit the place where the emperor conducted ritual rites because it helps us understand his ritual artifacts. One of the most stunning in the Son of Heaven exhibit is this jade disc. It was carved in the 2nd century during the Han Dynasty, at a time when the emperors were establishing proper ritual etiquette. The bee disc, as it's called, was carried to the sacrificial ceremonies as a symbol. Again, you see the circular shape, the perfect shape representing the heavens. Holding it up to a window, we can see how this beautiful jade is so evenly translucent. Another ritual artifact in the Son of Heaven exhibit is this bronze ritual vessel. Very old, about 7th century BC. Used by the Son of Heaven to carry alcohol. Grain alcohol, probably made from millet, was an appropriate sacrifice. What makes this Hu urn, with its tiger handles, particularly fine is that it has never corroded. Bronze usually gains a greenish patina when exposed to the elements. This one was found protected inside a royal tomb. To copy the decorative inscription on the urn, an artist is making a bronze rubbing. Rubbings in China are a special art form. And since they are an exact duplicate of the original, they are considered an art form of high status. The calligraphy on this vessel can be read today, a reminder that Chinese is the oldest living language. Written 2,600 years ago, it includes an auspicious wish for the user to have long life. So patiently, these master craftsmen are piecing together the relics that time has ruined. In a sense, they're turning back the clock by restoring and repairing the artifacts. Their workshop is inside the Forbidden City, and to them are brought the treasures of the past from all over China. When the repairs are done, the objects will go on display in China or abroad. Several of the pieces in the Son of Heaven exhibit have been restored here. These mirrors would be a disappointment to us today, accustomed as we are to a crisp, clear reflection. The ancient mirrors we're inspecting here have always reflected only a vague image. The Chinese have a legend that tells the story of the first mirror. Once, long ago, a woman found a mirror belonging to her husband, and looking into it, she saw herself. With dismay, she assumed her husband had fallen in love with the woman pictured in the mirror. She rushed to show her mother-in-law, who took the mirror in her hand and gazed into it. "Oh no," said the mother, "my son has fallen in love with an old woman." This story is a good example of the Chinese sense of humor. A man who takes his work very seriously is the master of them all, Zhao Zhenmao. At age 72, he has 57 years of this painstaking work behind him. Imagine the treasures he has restored over these many years, thousands of them. Which did he like the most? All of them, he says in typical Chinese diplomacy. I have loved them equally.
Son of Heaven, a Cairo special presentation, continues in a moment.
On a main rail line, southwest of Beijing, lies the city of Luoyang. For many centuries, the capital of ancient China, and once the cultural heart of the country. Today, Luoyang is chiefly an industrial and agricultural city, bearing little resemblance to its glorious past. This is market day in Luoyang, which means the buyers stroll the street looking for a bargain, and the sellers eagerly display their wares. Piglets sold here will be fattened for slaughter for another meal. Goats raised for milk and wool. Not far from the market, outside the city, sheep graze along the river Yi, watched over by a lone shepherd. This is a tranquil, serene place where someone might go to rest and contemplate. Centuries ago, the ancients must have thought so too.